We'll call this Weber County Board of Commissioners to order, dated this third day of October 2017 at 10 o'clock a.m. I'm in attendance, Commissioner James Ebert, Commissioner Harvey, and Commissioner Gibson. Welcome to all of those who are attending, either in person or on our live stream. Feel free at any time to contact us through email, through our Facebook live stream, or in person. Our offices are always open. Thank you for attending today. We'll start today with a moment of silence. We'll then move to our Pledge of Allegiance. We'll be led today by Paige Greenhall, and then I'll have the thought of the day. If you could join me in a moment of silence for those who experienced the tragedy in Las Vegas. Thank you.
Please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I've asked Commissioner Harvey to read my thought for today. I'm having a little struggle with the lower part of my spectacles.
Commissioner, the thought for today is, I found one from Martin Luther King, short and summarizes where I'm at today. And the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people.
You know, we have again a struggle as we deal with the circumstances that surrounded the shooting, and we can take opportunities to have political rhetoric, or we can come together as a community and come together as a country. And as a commission, we hope that we will come together as communities, we'll strengthen each other, we'll truly understand the purpose for us being here upon this earth, which is to provide service, love, and outreach to others. So if you have families that have been affected or friends, please let them know that they're in our prayers, and we hope that they can recover and they continue through their lives. I think one of the struggles that I've talked to several people about specific to that type of tragedy is it becomes life-altering. And individuals who had a certain course of their life is now changed. And we hope that through outreach and through care and through prayer that they can have a full recovery and then continue to live their lives in a happy and productive manner. So again, our hearts and prayers go to our fellow citizens in Nevada and Las Vegas. Also to those who live in St. George and Washington County and Cedar City. We know many that live in those areas were at that concert. So again, they're in our thoughts and prayers. We'll move to item number E, presentations. We'll start with a presentation of an American flag, John and Connie Ott. And if you wouldn't mind, just maybe touching base on
Introducing the others.
Yeah, and introduce the team that's with you, and then why you're folding a flag for us today, sir.
Okay. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Ott. I'm with the American Warriors in Action. What we are is we have formed a group of veterans and our wives that go into elementary schools and teach children how to fold a flag, what it means to be an American, how it is that we're supposed to treat the flag. Well, this lady in the white jacket is Connie Ott. She's the secretary of our group. Next one is Margaret Roberts. She's our treasurer. And the guy next to me, Larry Roberts. He's my vice commander. What we're going to do with this process is, at the fair this last year, or fair just ended, we were going to make a presentation to the county commissioners of a flag that we got from Orrin Hatch. And now we have the opportunity to pull it and present it to the county commissioners. Okay.
Thank you, sir. If you'd like to go ahead with the demonstration.
We have to turn it over, right?
Use the microphone, will you? Can you read them?
First we spread out the flag and we show it to the students. Don't let it touch the ground, guys.
Yeah.
A flag. Yeah,
Anybody catch
that's,
that mistake? We do that in school too. So the kids see us and we make a mistake, we go, did you see something wrong? And they go, yeah. That way they're aware of what's going on. Okay, Larry. First of all.
the first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold of our belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance to the veteran who gave a portion of his or her life for the defense of our country and to help maintain peace throughout the world. Fourth fold represents our weaker nature as American citizens, trusting in God, for it is to Him we turn in times of peace as well in times of war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country. In the words of the immortal Stephen Decatur, our country is dealing with other countries. May she always be right, but right or wrong, she is still our country. The sixth fold is where our heart lies, for it is with our hearts that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through them that our country and our flags are protected against all her enemies, whether they are found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to those who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood and mothers, for it has been through their faith, their love, loyalty, and devotion that the characters of those men and women who helped shape the destiny of this republic are molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to Father, for He too has given of His sons and daughters for the defense of our nation. We fold from the stripes toward the stars, for as the stars represent the 13 original colonies, they are now embodied in the 50 foreign states represented by the stars. The 11th fold is for the eyes of a Hebrew citizen. This represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon. Glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. The 12th fold is for the eyes of the Christian citizen. This represents an emblem of eternity, glorifies in their eyes God the Eternal Father, His Son Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost. The 13th fold is a reminder of all of us of the sacrifice, suffering, and bloodshed by those of the original 13 colleagues who never gave up hope nor courage for the day they would be free from the yoke of tyranny imposed upon them by their mother country. The flag is now completely folded with the stars uppermost, which reminds us of our national motto, "In God We Trust." The flag now takes an appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served with General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones. They lived by their comrades and shipmates down through the years, and have preserved for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms which we enjoy today. It is a duty and obligation of every American to hold, defend, and preserve these stars. Now, this flag is only 11 folds, but we wanted to read the 13 folds so that you would know the meaning of the flag. So maybe the next time you see a flag or your ceremony with someone, it'll remind you of what our flag really stands for. And it is very difficult for us sometimes to do this because the men remember their friends who died in combat. I had the privilege of folding the flag a couple of times, and the first time I did it, I had a very difficult time getting through it because it held more meaning to me because I held the flag and I folded it, and I started to cry, and I had to withhold my tears because I was in front of a school of children, and I'm not quite sure if they would have understood at that age, but I'm grateful that I had the privilege of folding the flag, and I hope that our country will stand together and remember the flag and honor her.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to have the commissioners come down to make a presentation. Gentlemen, on behalf of American Warriors in Action, at this time, I would like to present you with this American flag. And that's a certificate that says authenticity. That has flown over the United States Capitol for one day, and we got it from Fort Hatch. Thank you, guys.
Can we get a picture of all of you together?
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gibson.
Just before you leave, can I express my gratitude to you for doing that today? About a year ago, John contacted me about having some kind of a ceremony to dispose of American flags that had reached their useful end. And we brainstormed about how that might best happen and decided that it should happen at the fair. And unfortunately, the fair was almost a year away at that point, and so we had to wait until this year's fair to do that. But it was quite an honor to be with you great people and participate in that ceremony at our Weber County Fair this last year. And I was touched again by your dedication and your passion towards the things that are important, and I'm grateful for your willingness to serve. I will admit it touches my heart when we recite the Pledge of Allegiance and I see you gentlemen who have served faithfully salute appropriately and give that respect that we are so grateful for. So thank you so much for your willingness to share that with us today. It all kind of fits together with what we've been through with the county fair this year and maybe the next item or one of the next items on the agenda as well. So thank you so much for being here.
As it relates to the fair, just so the rest of you in the audience remember or are informed, is this particular group comes to the fair and they show us the proper way to retire a flag. And so that we're always paying respect, and that's something that we don't want as a lost art or a lost memory moving forward. And so if no other reason you come to the fair, we hope that you'll come to the fair and watch again how we properly retire the colors.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time and your commitment to the community. and really reminding us the purpose and the respect that we need to have for the flag. So thank you very much. We'll move to item number 2 under presentations, a presentation on the county seat annual report. Mr. Chad Booth. Mr. Booth.
Would you like me to
Present
the audience?
Whatever you're more comfortable in doing, you're welcome to do. We're informal here. You just got to make sure you talk into the microphone, or Fatima will get you.
I'm aware of this requirement. It kind of is a necessity in what we do as well. So,
State your name so that it can be properly heard on the record, because otherwise,
she'll say,
We
who
won't know
was
who you
that
are.
masked man? Chad Booth, the executive producer of the County Seat TV. I am joined today by Rick Peterson, who is our company's new COO, or coup. And he has joined us here. He's had a chance, I believe, to meet Commissioner Ebert a couple of days ago at USAC. Commissioner Harvey, how are you? Good. Commissioner Carey, how are you?
wonderful. Thank you, Chadwick.
Thank you. I wanted to kind of go through an update, and obviously, as I usually do at these meetings, pick your brains for topic ideas for the County Seat TV. Just so you know, I am so optimistic that there are things that we need to discuss that I have pre-filled out 4, at minimum, Weber County cards. So I'm hope by the time we're done that I will have the opportunity to walk away with here with 4 topics that we should talk about. The last time we gave this presentation in our last county commission meeting, I had just gotten off the phone with Channel 4, who had sent to me some updated rating information on our program. When we set out to do this project 10 years ago at a UAC meeting, it took us 2 years to get this started, but we outlined a few things that we thought were very important for a discussion of county government. One, that it's not known, and 2, that there, in addition to a constituent audience, there were other very special audiences or specific audiences that we were trying to reach. One of them being the Utah State Legislature and the senators and the executive staff. And it became obvious very early in the game that the executive branch was paying attention to our program because they were using it as a conduit to understand what issues were important to you, the commissioners. And I have received unsolicited testimonials from the governor more time, almost to a point of embarrassment. But I'm glad that he engages in the program. And the interesting thing that I find in conversation, just in the last year, in conversations with Nora Razier over at the Forest Service, Regional Forester, with the new BLM director, Ed Roberson, in our conversations, they talk about watching the county seat. They talk about how important it is. But more importantly, both of them specifically talk about things that tell me that they're not having somebody watch the show, they are watching the program. So the reason that I tell you this is we got these numbers, and the account rep who pulled together the RenTracks, he just sent us raw data for the last 6 months, which we kind of poured through. He said, I don't know what you guys were doing in the last half of January, but he said, your audience just spiked. And it lasted all through sweeps in February and dropped off the first part of March. He said, I don't know what was going on. And
Was that when I was on the show?
yes, it was.
One of the 6 times.
It was the legislature. It was really obvious to me because he said it started in the second half. He started in the second half of January, and it went all through February, which he thought was sweeps. He thought we were doing some kind of contest or something because that's one of the big rating periods. And that spike lasted through all the way through February, started to taper off in March. And to me, that was like, okay, well, the legislature was going on, so obviously it sparks an interest in an audience. I think we have achieved getting legislators in tune. It was not hard to find people to comment about county seat when we went up to the special session this year. They just kind of streamed out of the they actually at one point were kind of lined up. It was a little bit embarrassing. But so I believe that we've hit some of the targets that we set to do with the show. Not to mention that we are now seeing ratings with our Saturday night program, that since we added it, that are really impressive. We outperform any other local half-hour, not a newscast, but news program right now, with ratings that frequently top 4 rating, which translates to, 4% of 921,000 households. So that's pretty good for TV, and that means you're getting audiences that are approaching total audience, viewer audiences that are exceeding 200,000 viewers a week. So we're really pleased with the performance of the program. Anyway, those numbers are from RenTrack, and I can forward that data to you if you want to run through the Excel sheets. We feel that we've really accomplished some things with the county seat as far as our half hour, because if you think about it, there's no other place that you can go to have a 22-minute conversation on a single topic. And when we first started, we were trying to do 2 per week, and it became obvious within a month that you couldn't cover 2 topics and really talk about them the way they needed. So we switched to just doing 1 per week. And I don't think people sometimes fully realize how important that conversation is, regardless of the size of the audience that view it, because a news story is 1 minute and 40 seconds on average. And then a lot of people say, well, yeah, but, I can get on Doug Wright's show for free and I can talk to him. Well, we time Doug Wright's program. On average, his interview length is 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Rod Arquette does better. He's 4 minutes and 19 seconds on average if you divide up all of his interviews during the day. Red Meat Radio does just a little bit more, but not much. But we're offering 22 minutes of conversation on a single topic to fully vet it. We feel that that's very important. So we feel that we've actually really succeeded in getting that long-form conversation out on urban and rural issues. There are a couple of areas where we would like to improve, and we've taken steps to introduce some new things that we rolled out at the USAC meeting last week. I'm really sorry about the fact that my phone is on. I'm embarrassed by that, and I'm going to make it be quiet. What we are attempting to do is try to cover that gap, because you all know from participating in the program that if we have like an issue that breaks and you call me right away, by the time we get the panelists together, get the story done, get the shoot set up, at minimum it's a week, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get it put together. And when something really important comes out, we miss that opportunity to create the narrative that starts the conversation. And so there needs to be an outlet for counties where, when important and relevant news to the county gets out, that the county's perspective get put out there immediately. And so with the drive of social media and the fact that right now live is king, and you are pushed beyond what you normally would get organically in putting live video out there, we have figured a way and actually committed the resources. We built a second studio at our office so that we can communicate quickly and directly important breaking news for counties, and that will be incorporated into the county seat this year. Basically, it's as simple as this: you come out of a meeting at the Capitol where we've finally solved the mystery of centrally assessed taxes. And you, before Howard Stevenson gets his point of view out for the Utah Taxpayers Association, you want to get the word out from the counties. So you call us and you say, Chad, this is Commissioner Harvey. I've just come out of a meeting, and here are the points that we have come up with, and the legislature leadership has agreed we're going to pursue this angle, and we're going to deal with centrally assessed taxes. You give me the points, I read them back to you, say, is this the message? Yes. I walk in the studio, I turn on the lights, we fire it up, we send out a tweet, the county seat's going live in 5 minutes, and then we hit the record button. In 5 minutes, that conversation is now out there on social media. If it's something that would benefit from an interview, we we can actually set up an interview with you from your phone at that meeting and put it out in social media live. So this is an attempt to put some added value into county seat that will immediately allow this conversation to start from the county's perspective. Because for years, we've been on the defensive. Every time a situation breaks, the headlines are they, by instinct, our fellow companions in media are going to go for the sensational headline that gets them an audience. And so when that conversation starts from the headline, now you're reacting to it. And we've got to rethink ourselves to start creating the first statement about the conversation, and that's what we're trying to attempt with this tool. Whether it's something that you know is in the works and you want to plan a live release for it, or whether it's something that just happens and breaks, we are now equipped and have committed the resources to make this happen immediately. We plan to have this fully operational. Obviously, we did have one little bug called a mute button that you obviously observed. We will be ramping up and officially launching it as part of the services that County Seat provides as part of your sponsorship at the first of the year. And we're really excited about it. I may sound low-key because it's such a formal chamber, but I'm actually extremely excited about how the show's been performing, what it's been doing, and filling in these pieces. The sidebar to this is that we all get busy, and sometimes it's hard for us to be able to fill out the roster of topics that are worthy of discussion in long format on the county seat. But this live and interactive thing, if we can all work together as a team, and you guys can take the initiative to get this information to us, we can get it out. We can get your statement out the way you want it out to cover the relevant issues from the county perspective, start that dialogue and conversation in the media, and if we do this for a year, believe me, in 29 counties, the media will come to the county seat site to see what's happening and breaking. I know journalists, it is the least number of hours beyond your core requirements to graduate, which tells me that a lot of people, when I was going through school, they took journalism because they would be out of college faster, which would tell you a little bit about their motivation and ethic. If you can make something easy for them, they will swim around that hook and bite at it. And so we're trying to make that dissemination of county news as easy as possible for our fellow travelers in public media so that they partake from this particular fountain. That being said, if you have any questions about what we're trying to do or what we're trying to accomplish, the technology does work. Commissioner Ebert saw that.
I did.
And what did you think of that?
I think it's a very useful tool, and I think when we can put out communications that looks extremely professional, that is timely, that provides information that helps to create an audience. And I think from our last Utah Association of County Commissioners, there was a tremendous amount of interest in communicating what counties actually do to the general public so they better understand what we're facing. And again, the more information, the better educated we can help our populace to be, I think the better off we are.
And the really good thing about what we're trying to accomplish from the county seat level, it dovetails so very nicely with the great efforts that you guys put in to cover your social media. That was very impressive, what Weber County presented at USAC about fire coverage. And while they are on similar platforms, they are very complementary to each other as far as catapulting this information further forward. So with that,
when would a new viewer look for the county seat?
When would they?
When would a new viewer tune in on the county seat?
You mean as far as the social media goes? Oh, I see what you're saying. For all of you people in TV land, County Seat is seen on ABC Channel 4 every Saturday night at 11 o'clock, following that really wonderful outdoor recreation show at your leisure.
You set him up.
Yes, he did.
You can. Thank you. That was a better throw than Abbott threw to Costello. I just want you to know.
If you're a dairy farmer and you're asleep on Saturday nights at 11 o'clock,
At which case, right after you're done milking the morning cows,
exactly,
you can catch it Saturday morning or Sunday morning at 8:30, right before that outdoor recreation show at your leisure. I might add, if you guys are thinking about in-state tourism, you really ought to look at the numbers of the county seat, because our Saturday night audience has grown to be twice again as big as our Sunday audience. I would never have thought in the middle of the Sunday morning news block where people are traditionally looking, we managed to make traction in Rod Decker's old-time slot that he used to have for Take Two. But it's working. And we're up against Saturday Night Live, and we're seeing a growing audience, and we're seeing a pretty hefty audience.
I've been amazed at that, Chad. I get a lot of comments from people at church on Sunday that say, "Hey, I saw you on the county seat last night at 11," and I'm like, "I was asleep." But it's
pure as the milk that comes from your cows. Sleep it.
It's amazing how many people watch that. I don't know if it's the people are turned off from that Sunday morning slot or what, but that Saturday slot gets a lot of.
I mean, we compete on Sunday morning. We are competing with Sunday morning news on CBS, and even though there's Bowtie on there every week, it's still got a pretty good following.
Yeah.
And Channel 4 has done. I have to give compliments to Channel 4. They have recognized that we've been doing something different, and they have really. I mean, I don't think you'll go anywhere in the country where you will find sponsored programming coming right out of a Saturday night newscast instead of an internal sports show. But they have given us that time slot, and there's no indication that they're going to change it because we deliver a really good audience for them. And we pay them dearly for the half hour, but regardless of that, and the fact that they are actually promoting us as part of their Sunday morning news lineup, I don't know if you've caught any promos on Channel 4, but they don't just run county seat promos alone. They say get all your national, state, and local news in the Sunday morning news block, starting first with George Snuffinopoulos, and then Glenn Mills, and then followed by local county government with Chad Booth in the county seat. So they actually promote us like we're part of their news operation, which does create some heartburn for their news director, who's told us to me on a couple of occasions because people don't always agree with the things we talk about and feel free to talk about on our program, and they call him. But he's glad the show's there, and he actually uses it as a resource to generate stories and leads for his reporters. So, if you have no more questions, I'm here to take questions. What do we need to be talking about on the county seat? I know IGP is still out there, but you so twisted our heads that we've got to refocus and build the show that you talked about. So I've not forgotten about that. You don't need to give me a note about that. Brigham and I were discussing it just a couple of days ago.
Well, let me just say that I don't necessarily have topics in mind, but I have been impressed with your efforts over the years, Chad. You have delivered a great product, and are finding ways consistently, I think, to reach out to new audiences. And I find myself finding the show quite often just by rolling across it on a Facebook feed and clicking on the link and watching the show that I've missed. Or if there's a particular topic that I know that I'm interested in, I'll just go to the County Seat TV website, and you can go back, I think, through eternity, can't you? I mean, you can catch
from Broadcast One. They are all on YouTube and available through our website. So if you want to see a much younger Kerry Gibson, I recommend going back to season 3, episode.
Seriously, you sound really, really old. I'm not that old. I was.
No, actually, I know commissioners that have changed a lot more than you have.
Okay, good. But what I've found is when you talked about the content and you said we cover urban and rural issues, I mean, I think it's easy to make that divide. But what I've found in my time in county government and state government before that was that there's much less of that divide in our minds than in the minds of the average everyday person than we sometimes think. What we're talking about are county issues, and the way you framed it up front is that many people don't understand what counties do until it doesn't work. Then they realize it, and it's a problem. And so it's a constant thing. As a child, I remember my parents lamenting the fact that nobody knew where their food came from. We talked about we had to educate, we had to tell people where their food came from. Well, this is the same thing. We have to start early and explain to people what is important to us and what we see as we're representing them that needs to be improved. And this is one of those tools, I think, Chad, that has been tremendously successful at doing that. And I got to hand it to you, because when someone of your stature comes into a point of their life when they say, I can do a lot of different things, and they choose to say, okay, I'm gonna look at county government and how to explain to the public what that's all about. Anyway, I just think it's a tremendous asset for us to have someone like you and your team doing this for us, and I think you have accomplished great things, and I intend to see great things in the future. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for understanding the value to our constituents of this type of programming and being willing to put it out there.
Well, as I've told commissioners before on several occasions, I am firmly committed to the fact that the most important level of government that we face is local government, and that there will come a time, probably closer in our future than we think, when it will be the government that we can consistently rely upon to solve immediate problems, and we do need to understand how it functions and what kind of issues you're facing, because I've seen it. I know what you guys come up against. These are tough things, and unlike some kind of program that's thought up in Washington, you affect real lives instantly with decisions that you make, and they are not easy decisions. And I know how much thought most county commissioners make across the state. So I'm very committed to that. I do agree with you. It would be much easier to, still be in weather as a weathercaster, because you get paid six figures just to lie to people. And you don't have to be accurate. You only have to tell the truth half the time, and they still think you're great. So.
Well, let me just real quick a comment that I heard from our congressman the other day. He was talking to me about some of the challenges we face as county commissioners, and he says, "Man, I wouldn't have your job." He says, people know how to get a hold of you. They know your number. They can't find me. They can't get a hold of me, and that's somewhat true. And I don't say that in to feel sorry for ourselves. What I say that is that when it comes right down to it, people know where things happen and where they should happen, and it's the closest level as possible to the people that they represent, and to me that's a positive thing. But somehow they have to be reminded from time to time of some of those things that are important. So again, well done.
Very good.
Commissioner Harvey, any specific topics?
For me, for Weber County, I'd like to talk about transportation opportunities, specifically as it relates to 5600 South in Roy, surrounding the Hill Air Force Base Museum and the Falcon Hill Project.
Driving into economic development. I would add on to that more of an urban issue, and that is the importance of understanding vertical tax structure and encouraging mixed-use developments, and how that structurally is a better.
You've stumped me. Usually I know exactly what you guys are talking about, and Commissioner Ebert, I find myself in a novice status here. Vertical tax structure.
So we'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, well, I always make sure you have a white. We were over taping for IGP, and he took control of a whiteboard like Karl Rove and started writing things out and helped me understand the real issue of IGP. I was very impressed by it. So when we have this conversation, make sure there's a whiteboard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry about the pops on the P. A professional broadcaster should know better than to talk directly into a microphone like that. Okay.
Well, thank you, Chad, and we appreciate. We'll follow up on other specific topics that we think are relevant to county and/or region.
This may sound like a shameless plug, and I would normally not do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. What I am hearing you talking about with issues like 5600 South and the museum and the transportation, you guys maybe want to think about participating like Utah County did last year, because the full sponsor counties get a program that we make exclusively about the county to promote county issues. And it's a little bit more investment, but it might be a good thing for you guys. It's probably that one episode. I believe that the Utah County Commissioners think it was worth their entire sponsorship, because they are sharing it like crazy. So,
well, thank you.
Rick's the guy to talk to about that.
Thank you very much, Chad.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your commitment to the community. We'll move to item number 3, presentation of the Weber County Library. Linda Wainsgard. Linda, you have 30 seconds. Chad's used all your time.
Wow, 30 seconds.
I'm
I can do
teasing.
it.
I'm teasing.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to present to present an update on the library system. And of course, the question that everyone is asking as they go about town is, when is the main library going to reopen? So let's start there. The general contractor is scheduled to have the main library substantially complete December 15th. And I don't imagine that a lot is going to happen the last 2 weeks of that month. But beginning the 2nd of January, the library staff will start installing all of the infrastructure that all of our programs and services rely upon, communication systems, computer networks, and so forth. The goal is to have a soft opening sometime in March, and then a rededication April 4th, which is the 50th anniversary of the original dedication of the facility. I'm also often asked in relation to the main library, is it still going to be the main library? Or is it going to be a branch? And I have to say I cringe when I hear people refer to the main library as a branch, because it is the main library in the county system. It's been cleared out of some support services that have been moved to Roy so that it can continue to function in that capacity. And all of the special collections and archives and all of the things that make a main library different from a branch will come back to Ogden and take up their rightful residence in that facility. The next question, of course, I'm asked is, well, what about North Branch? Is it going to follow right on the heels of the main library? And it is. As soon as we have the soft opening of Main in March and the dedication, rededication in April, we'll be ready to host the public at a grand opening and rededication of North Branch that we anticipate will happen sometime in May. But even with 2 of the libraries closed for renovation, the public is racking up some pretty impressive usage statistics. During the month of August, 171,000 books were borrowed. Some predicted that ebooks were going to cause the demise of people using libraries to borrow books, but that certainly is not happening. Every month, circulation inches up. Higher than the month before, every year higher than the year before. Providing ebooks to the public has simply given us an opportunity to provide a new service, but it hasn't negatively affected the borrowing of traditional books. Of the 171,000 items that were loaned in August, only about 17,000 were ebooks. So it's a significant service and it's growing, but it is not having the deleterious impact on people reading traditional books that some thought it might have. Another usage statistics, 7,200 people gathered in the library meeting rooms during August to conduct the business of various community groups, ranging from book discussions to preschool registrations to piano recitals. Another 10,200 attended educational programs or classes sponsored by the library. So that's over 17,000 people. And that number sometimes doesn't mean a lot, because what does that mean in real seats? But if we think that the university's D Event Center seats 11,500. It gives some perspective to how many people come to the public library system each month for meetings and classes. Of course, educational programs are the library's bread and butter. Our programming spaces are filled to overflowing each week for Discovery Time, which is a preschool activity session that develops pre-emergent reading skills. Sensory Story Hour, which is designed for young people with special needs. English as a second language and citizenship classes, after-school labs, to name just a few of the fair. This month, instructors from Utah State University are performing their magic in after-school classes, teaching about magnetism and the sun. We have library chess clubs that meet weekly for each location, and community volunteers teach yoga and Tai Chi. We have classes that help people succeed in their jobs, a program called Weber Works, and of course Weber Reads, which is in its 11th year. Weber Reads is a program that follows an initiative developed by the Library of Congress titled One Book, One Community. It's a program where we pick a topic, an author, or a book every year and encourage people to learn and read and discuss ideas that we encounter. This year we have chosen fire as our theme. Just a month ago in Weber County, we were reminded how close to our lives fire can come and how fragile our world would seem, or how fragile our world does seem when the night sky reddens and the winds carry the scent of soot into all of our neighborhoods. In these moments, fire threatens. Yet we also know that fire is a creator as well as a destroyer, that seeds blossom in its heat and that animals find new forage and that the soil is renewed. We know that for millennia people have gathered around fire to celebrate and tell stories and talk, and we've become accustomed now to starting to realize that our connection with fire is a very complex one, that it can threaten as well as benefit, that it can destroy as well as create. So fire is a metaphor that will serve to enhance some very interesting discussions over the next 12 months. Every school in Weber County received a packet from the library that includes lesson plans and, of course, a message from the county commissioners inviting them to participate in Weber Reads. One of the richest resources the county library has to offer is our value-added databases. There are more than 200 of them on topics as diverse as automotive repair, local history, genealogy, consumer information, finance, and investing. My favorite of these is called the Learning Express Library, and it's based on official tests that the site provides access to over 300 practice tests and skills tests for things like the SAT, the ACT, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, the GED, and so forth. It's a very useful tool and used extensively by people who are preparing for college or for advancement on the job. For those who may be having trouble reaching a library while renovations are underway, we're running a shuttle service from the main library that visits the facilities in Washington Terrace and Roy, but they may wish to visit the library website, our virtual library, at www.weberpl.org. Here they'll find the children's playground, the teen thing, the grown-ups garage, all filled with educational games, films, access to books and periodicals, and much, much more, all available on their home or work computer. Weber County's commitment to being a third space in their libraries has drawn much attention. If our first place is our home and our second place is our work or school, then our third place is where we go to engage with others, to teach and to learn. Within the last month, a team of library administrators traveled from Arkansas to Weber County to spend the day at the Southwest Branch Headquarters Library and to view the renovations that are going on in Maine in anticipation of spending a very large commitment from their community in the form of a general obligation bond to upgrade all of their libraries. Next Monday, the Logan City Library Director and their staff will spend the entire day at the Southwest Branch Headquarters, and we will be providing training for them on how to design third-place libraries as Logan City is getting ready to build a new facility. And this Thursday and Friday, Prescott Muir and I will be the keynote presenters at a Library Director Summit sponsored by the state of Utah. And the topic will be third-place libraries. As you know, Prescott Muir Architects designed the Ogden Valley Branch, the Pleasant Valley Branch, and the Southwest Branch Headquarters. So when Maine and North Branch reopen next year, they too will be stellar third-place learning platforms. With all 5 county libraries open next year, we can expect the annual circulation of books borrowed will easily exceed 2.5 million. Annual visits will approach 2 million, and flexible third spaces will accommodate more than 500,000 people who will gather for meetings, discussions, artistic presentations, classes, and more. Libraries change lives, and the employees in the library system are working hard to make it so. And Commissioners, we appreciate all that you are doing to make it so as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions for Linda before she steps away? I would just really quickly like to say one thing that we know about Linda. She's very thorough, as her presentation really has covered the concept, the direction, and the update on the library. I'd also like to recognize her that she received an award from Weber State University in their salutes for her ongoing commitment to continuing education, as Commissioner Gibson also was awarded the Presidential Award, and really talked about her commitment to educating our community, our children and our adults, and having an ongoing forward-thinking concept of what libraries can turn into to continue that educating process, especially to those who are underprivileged and cannot always afford many of the means to learn to read and then to have that access. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number F, which is our consent items. Number 1, request for approval of warrants 1216-1223 and 421354-421599 in the amount of $2,608,825.35. Item 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $537,682.50. Item number 3, request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on September 26, 2017. Item 4, request for approval of ACH payment to U.S. Bank in the amount of $140,691.65 for purchasing card transactions made through the billing cycle ending September 25, 2017. Item 5, request for approval of a retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Catherine Larison. Number 6, I request for approval to set the date of October 24, 2017 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing to discuss and take public comment on a proposal to amend the following sections of Weber County Code, Definitions 101-1-7 and Ogden Valley Sign Title 110, Chapter 2, to amend provisions related to flags, window signs, and portable signs. That is the end of the consent items. And yes, I did take debate, so I learned how to read extremely quickly. Any questions, Commissioners?
Nope.
Mr. Hatch, would you go over our PO and our warrants?
You bet. We had 27 purchase orders issued this past week for $538,000. 62% of that, or $332,000, was for the library, and that was for flooring for the main library. 12%, or $64,000, was for the jail, and that was for shower resurfacing. 11%, or $57,000, was for a light for the Depot Drive construction. We issued 254 checks this week for $2.6 million. 34% of that amount, or $893,000, was transportation funds that was used on the 3500 West project. 28%, or $732,000, was spent on medical and dental insurance for county employees. And 5%, or $133,000, was for dispatch, and that went towards communications and equipment for their new center. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch. Any questions for Mr. Hatch on our POs or warrants? Seeing none, I'm open for a motion on the consent items.
So move.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you. Moving to G, action items. Number 1, request for the George E. Wallen Ogden Veterans Home to have a commission member serve on the Veteran Nursing Home Board. Representative Bert Oda and Blake Wallen. Please step to the microphone. For purposes of identification, would you state your name so that Fatima can tell who is speaking?
Absolutely. I'm Blake Wallen, serve on the advisory board for the George Wallen Ogden Veterans Home.
I'm Kurt Oda. I serve as the vice chair of the board for the nursing home.
Thank you.
We're grateful to be here. We'll keep this very, very short. But earlier this year, I know this commission brought us in as a veterans home and presented an award. A beautiful crystal bowl was awarded. I wanted to just report back what that bowl was used for this year. At our Memorial Day services, For each one of our veterans that passed away in the last 12 months, that crystal bowl was rung. And it was almost 80 times. So in the last 12 months, we've lost 80 of our veterans, last veterans home. We have a waiting list of 160, which is a 2-year waiting list. We have 120 beds. We're grateful to be here today and represent the veterans that are there now. This is a home that's dear to our hearts. Representative Oda, then at the time, and my father was instrumental in having the home built. And so I'm going to turn just a minute or two over to Representative Oda.
Former.
Former, but to me, always representative.
I believe Commissioner Gibson remembers when we served together at the legislature that when the issue of the nursing home came about, we were in such dire need in the state of Utah. We had our request into the federal VA. We'd move up the list and get kicked back down. Move up the list and get kicked back down. California continued to get their nursing homes, and we'd get kicked out. So as a legislature, we decided that the need was so great because Idaho had half as many veterans, but they had 3 homes. We only had 1 at the time, the one in Salt Lake City. And so we decided, all right, our budget looks fairly decent right now. Let's take $20 million and build the home up here in Ogden. Thanks to Senator Hatch, we were able to acquire the property there, so we built it and waited for reimbursement from the federal government. When we got that, the reimbursement back, it wasn't the full amount. You know, there's a portion that the state pays, but we took that money, instead of just putting it back into the general fund, we actually split that and built 2 more homes, one down in Payson and one in Ivins, down in Washington County. The need is still so immense; it's incredible. We have, it's not just veterans who have actually gone to combat areas. These are veterans that have served regardless. You know, that they were active members of the service. So we need to find ways to continue to make things better. We feel that our nursing home here in Ogden, we need to have some good, solid, rounded representation on the board, and therefore, we're asking that the Weber County Commission appoint someone from the commission to serve with us on the board. I think you can give us some really good understanding of what you may be able to help us with versus what the home might need and what might be available. You may have some ideas of some grants that we're not privy to, things of that sort. So whatever you can do to help us and get us some representation from the county would be great.
I think our hope also is just community outreach. Obviously, you're connected to this county, and I think the county needs to be better aware of the Veterans Home, what our veterans have done for us. And we'd invite those that are here in attendance today, if you have not been to the Veterans Home, to come. The minute you walk in there, you'll feel a spirit of patriotism and a great opportunity to show appreciation. So we would love to have your support by serving on our board.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson?
Well, I just want to thank you for asking, and thank you for your service over the years. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I've had the opportunity to be involved in a whole lot of policy debates over the years. And when I really think back and look back on the things that are important to me, none are any more important than this discussion that was had close to my freshman time in the legislature. And even though I will admit that I was more of a blocker on this one than a quarterback. I am so grateful that I was able to play a role in this whole discussion and debate, because it truly means something to me in its importance and its value to our community and frankly the respect that we owe those who have put their lives on the line for us. It just can't be overstated. I appreciate you, Blake, for the service of your family. Your dad, he was a driver. I mean, this would not have happened without his dogged persistence up there on Capitol Hill, looking people in the eye and appealing to their sense of patriotism and fairness and duty. And what an honor it is, I think, for you. It should be for you, and I'm sure it is, to have a father that was able to affect that kind of positive change for our community. And Kurt, right back at you. I mean, again, this would have not happened without you and your role that you played down there at the state legislature. So I am a fan for life. I'll do whatever you ask me to do. I'll do whatever my country asks of me to do. In this and other instances, I will stand by your side. I'll play whatever role needs to be played to support these great men and women who have sacrificed their lives and their entire existence for us. And so I think it's fair to say that we're happy to nominate a county commissioner to serve on your board. But let it not stop there. Please let us know. Please let us know what we can do in simple ways, in difficult ways. Some of the most sweet experiences I've had have been spending time there for church services with veterans and just walking around the room with young people, walking around the home with young people, and taking the time with one young person to walk into a room and let them hear the story of that person that can't get out much. It's changed lives. It's changing lives not only in the past in their service, but to these young people who have the opportunity to be with them as well. So I just want to tell you thank you. And I hope that as you have the opportunity to walk through those halls as we are, give them our thanks as well. Let them know how grateful we are for their service and sacrifice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey.
This ties in rather nicely with our presentation earlier today. It is an unspoken feeling, especially when you talk about the third fold of the flag. I have a great appreciation. I don't know that I have the ability to articulate that for those who have sacrificed so much. And not just for those persons, but also their families. Recently, having a privilege attending a conference for commissioners nationwide, we had the privilege of going through a construction project on the next national monument, which will be the Veterans Memorial in Cleveland, Ohio, that Senator John Glenn put forward, and that's a veterans memorial for all veterans for all conflicts. Something unique. It was stirring, it was awesome, and it's close to completion. I'm looking forward to going back. I appreciate very much what you both have done and all your efforts, and especially appreciate being your neighbor since it grew out of the ground. It was an honor to be so close to you every day and to drive by and just get that hint of remembrance every day. So thank you both for your representation and those that you represent. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
So quickly, like Jim, who drove by the Veterans Home probably several times a day. I drive by it several times a day. I probably live a half a mile from it. I've ran past it early in the morning and late at night. I've seen the flags out in front. I've seen the families on specific holidays. And It truly is touching. I think that this is a race from the commissioners to see who can be a part of this, for sure. It's a complete and utter privilege to represent and do what we can for this community. So I will echo Commissioner Gibson that we appreciate that you would consider us, and we will move mountains and lift whatever we need to do to move this project forward. So unless there's any other comments, I'm open for a motion.
Do we have a resolution or anything? Probably don't need it in this case. We have from time to time with our assignments, we split them up the best we can according to portfolios and so on and so forth. And sometimes we do that by administrative assignment at the beginning of the year. Sometimes we do it in the middle of the year, and sometimes we need a motion, sometimes we don't. But if you're asking for a motion, I'll make a motion. In this case, Commissioner, is that what you want to do by form of a motion today?
Please, yes.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we appoint Commissioner Harvey to serve as the commission representative at this time to the Veterans Nursing Home.
I will second that. I will, however, request that since I live a stone's throw away, I would love to spend some time, and if I could accompany Commissioner Harvey at times, I would love that opportunity and see that as a privilege. But I'll definitely second that motion.
And since we have a motion and a second, let me just, as far as debate, mention that my nomination of Commissioner Harvey offers my full confidence in him. He'll be able to represent the commission well. That doesn't mean that, like Commissioner Ebert says, that any of us wouldn't like that assignment, but we are grateful to, you're asking for one, we'll give you one, and we'll serve however else you would like.
Juan just indicated maybe we should ask for 3.
However else you would like us to serve, be aware that we're happy to help in that manner. So.
And we want to let you know that, any of you are always welcome to join us in the meetings, and so you could see what's going on. And you're always welcome to come out to the home and visit with the veterans and staff to see what else, get to know them. I think that's really critical. A lot of those vets are very lonely. So,
if you ever want a reality check, if you ever want something to really help you understand what's important in life, just stop by there on an Sunday afternoon or whenever and spend an hour. It's a special experience.
Any further discussion?
I'd be honored.
Okay, see no further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much, Commissioner Harvey, for attending your meeting.
I think just as a matter of process, your name will be forwarded to the Utah State Department of Veterans Affairs. Assuming that it'll be approved, our next meeting is October 19th. If you'll pen that in, and we'll forward your name at 3:30.
If there's a background check, we may want to offer up another commissioner.
Thank you for your kind words and for your support, and it's felt, and we'll pass it on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You'll have some more time now, Commissioner, now that you don't have to worry about the NFL anymore.
Yeah, we're done. Moving to item number 2, request for approval of an interlocal agreement allowing North Ogden City to become the land use and building permit authority for property in unincorporated Weber County that is being annexed into North Ogden City. Sean Wilkinson. Sean.
Good morning, Commissioners. We've had similar agreements like this in the past. This is for property out by the old Country Boy Dairy in North Ogden. The property is currently being annexed into North Ogden City, but in advance of completing that annexation, the city and the developer, the people that are annexing the property, would like to just work with North Ogden City rather than going through the county process, because eventually they will be part of North Ogden City. And this agreement allows the city to handle the building permits and the development permits that are necessary in that process.
Any questions for Mr. Wilkinson?
I'll make a motion then, Commissioner, that we move forward with approval for the interlocal agreement as described.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Do I have any further discussion after the motion? motion and a second. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Item number 3, request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Huntsville Town for animal control services. Ashley. Hello, Ashley. You've been here a lot lately.
Yeah, I have. Good
Welcome
morning.
home.
Just seeking approval for extended contract for animal control services between Huntsville Town and Weber County.
I'll make a motion, Commissioner, that we approve the agreement as specified.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion on the interlocal agreement? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Enjoy your ride home. Item number 4, request for approval of an amendment to a contract by and between Weber County and Salt Lake County to house Salt Lake County offenders in the Weber County Jail to allow the parties to modify by mutual agreement on the number of Salt Lake County inmates that may be housed in the Weber County Jail. Stephanie Ebert. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello. We had a contract, or we have a contract with Salt Lake County to house their inmates, and this is a request for an amendment to the contract. When we originally signed the contract, we were at pretty much capacity with our male inmates, and we had a clause in there that said that we would not exceed 10 male inmates in our facility from Salt Lake County. And so as times change with our population changes also, and so we decided that it would behoove both parties to change that clause to read that the parties will mutually agree on the number of inmates that will be housed. So it's just a minor change in this contract.
Thank you. Any questions on the contract?
This is an easy one, so I don't have any questions unless... I'll make a motion that we approve that amendment to the contract between Weber County and Salt Lake County to house the offenders
I have a
in the
motion.
jail.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for bringing some common sense into the contract. Okay, next on the item is our Roy annexation, but I think we may have some folks, are any of these folks here for Roy annexation? So I think what we'll do, if it's okay with the other commissioners, if there is some public input or public comment that you'd like to have prior to this being presented so that the presenter could answer any specific questions you may have, we'll open up this time for some specific public comment on the Roy annexation. Please come up, state your name. Again, please limit it to 3 minutes. Thank you. Glad to have you today.
Thank you. Jacqueline Thompson, 5084 South, 3550 West in the unincorporated areas of Roy. First of all, we wanted to thank the Commission for taking the time to review the questions, the concerns that we brought at the public hearing and in many emails and phone calls that you guys received afterwards. The presentation and the remarks by Commissioner Ebert and Rick Grover, the time that you, Charlie, have spent helping us understand better what our nonconforming rights are, what legally we're able to continue to do post-annexation, is definitely far more than what we received from the city during the same process last year. We have more clarity as to what to expect going forward. Many of the people in the island still feel like the steps taken that took away our rights to be able to stop the annexation was a little less than transparent, but we do understand there is some financial burden on the county to continue to support all of these islands, not just Roy, but all of the cities included in the original resolution. I believe the city that agreed to put their intent in writing only as a result from the county and your presentation and your request. This is something that we had several discussions with them last year during the same process, and all we could get was verbal. So we appreciate the efforts that you guys have made on our behalf with the city, and that the city is now agreeing to put certain things in writing to help us understand their stance as they move forward. One of the items that the city redirected back to us is the request to have somebody better understand the tax changes that we're going to have going from Weber County to what the city taxes. They mentioned that all of the property tax statements are issued by the county, and therefore we would need to address with someone with the county as to what questions we have and to better understand what the changes we're going to see on our property tax bills as a result of the annexation. I'm not sure if that's something that you guys can assist with or give us a direction as to who to talk to, but something that is a major concern for several of the residents. They've been in their homes for the 20 or 30 years. They're on limited income. They're on fixed income. They're very concerned about what tax changes on their property tax they're going to have to address and prepare for as a result of the annexation. We know the timeline for this might take months or a year, but that's one thing that is still an outstanding concern that the city wasn't able to address for us. One other issue is that we did have some residents mention that they feel like the county departments or potentially the code officers don't necessarily feel like they're being supported. Like you guys maybe don't really want to deal with the islands that are being annexed anymore. A couple of residents reported that they've filed some complaints on property issues, code issues, et cetera. They don't feel like they've gotten a response or any action by the county. I know that that's probably not necessarily the case. A lot goes on behind the scenes that, you know, obviously the citizens wouldn't necessarily see. But there are some residents that feel like potentially the county just kind of doesn't really, we're going into Roy, and that's kind of the mindset where, well, let's not worry about that. It's not a big deal. To the people that still live there, it's a big deal. Yeah. And so we're just asking that we continue to be residents of Weber County for as long as we are residents of Weber County. That's all I have today.
That's fair. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to make comments in this special public comment period? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 5, request for approval of a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Weber County.
Before Charlie goes, ma'am, I'm sorry I didn't write your name down and don't remember.
Jacqueline Thompson.
Jacqueline, I just want to publicly thank you for how well you articulated and how well you prepared your statement. Thank you very much for what you've done, and I appreciate your representation. As I'm looking at nonverbal communication, but as I look, also I appreciate that, and I feel like you have the respect of your peers, and I appreciate the work and the time that you've done. And this also, let that also be a compliment to your parents.
Thank you.
Your mom would be proud.
Say something from back here. Without Jacqueline, this whole annexation, this last part of this year of it, would be a big debacle, bigger than it is. And she has come in and really has helped us. And as you can tell, our numbers have dwindled as things go along because everybody's just kind of
tired,
fatigued.
They're tired
a lot
of
of work.
it, you know. And we all understand that. We know where you're coming from, but I just want to tell you thanks too, because she's emailed everything. She's given us, you know, kept us up on everything that's going on. So thanks to you guys for helping her get these information. I appreciate it.
Thank you for caring.
Thank you. We appreciate anybody who helps us avoid debacles. We're
surprised
here.
you could say that word.
Thank you.
I appreciate Jacqueline too. She's been awesome. And you have too.
Happy to be in a meeting discussing annexation where it's a lot more lighthearted than the first one I had. So thanks to everyone.
Someone I know that I respect a tremendous amount says it's never a problem, it's always the process. So we want to make sure we have the right process, and I think through, again, Jacqueline and others' help, we've got to a better spot, and we hope after this presentation will alleviate many of those issues and concerns.
Thank you.
Charles.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I want to echo the same sentiments. Ms. Thompson and I have emailed back and forth a little bit, and we've been able to help clarify a lot of the misconceptions that have been out there about this process. So hopefully there's a degree of comfort that comes with it. She's given you my presentation, so I could probably just sit down. We've gone through.
Or you could hire her.
Yeah, it's true, indeed. We've gone through a couple of steps to get some questions answered by Roy City. County went to Roy City council meeting and asked them for an on-the-record commitment to try and minimize the nonconformities as much as possible. Roy City has in writing from the mayor, as well as verbally from the council and from the Roy City attorney, and verbally, or excuse me, in writing from the city planner, all stated in a unified voice that they're going to do everything they can to make their zoning as consistent as it can be with the county zoning. And with that in mind, that seemed to be the biggest concern, was the creation of nonconformities. And it seems like Roy City is going to work hard to try and minimize all of that. To address the question about tax changes, our beloved county treasurer has incredible skills.
You make it sound like he's passed away. He's still here, and he's still working.
And he's probably watching. And I've sat down with him to go over what taxation could look like on a general scale, taking a property appraised at $200,000 or so. It's a specific question relative to specific parcels. And so I'm glad we've got a little bit of time over the next year to help the public get questions answered, because it's going to be generally on a parcel by parcel basis. We've got a map set up that identifies tax areas and where what these islands will be identified in terms of taxing units, and we can make that public, and that'll hopefully help the public understand how their taxes might change over the next year or so. And I say year or so, it really depends on Roy City at this point when they choose to proceed with the annexation process. They still have to make a choice at their city council. As far as code violation goes, I work with a code officer. Every time a complaint is made, a file is opened, an investigation is conducted. In some cases, that investigation comes back with findings that they are not violating a county ordinance. In some cases, county ordinances are a little bit more relaxed than city ordinances, more for agricultural areas than anything. And so hopefully the Roy annexation will actually help alleviate some of those concerns. As opposed to hinder. That's really the presentation. Any questions for me regarding this process or anything else?
So really quickly, have you sent Jacqueline the information specific to the comparison of the zones? And
yeah,
so,
actually, Roy City has been working with Jacqueline and has given them that information.
So after our initial meeting, we kind of drew a line in the sand. We received a letter basically confirming of their intent, but what we were asking for is those side-by-side comparisons so that we could verify that the zones that they were looking at overlaying were closely associated with our present zones. And there was only one, if I recall correctly, that they would have to kind of create. It was experimental. Yeah, and so I would refer those, if you haven't already, to our commission packet. And that's all attached, so you can pull that off. You can see the side-by-side comparisons, but it sounds like she may have disseminated that information already. But again, what we were trying to accomplish is to give the citizens in unincorporated that are looking at annexation something concrete to look at rather than a commitment. And I feel like Roy is right about 90% there, except for that last area. But I think there's a commitment to create that last zoned area that is fairly similar, and I know that our staff's been working on that. So I want to express my appreciation for all the work that's been done to get us to this point, and Roy has stepped up to the plate and committed to those things. So, commissioners, any other thoughts or comments?
I don't have any. I'm satisfied with the comparison. There's been a lot of work and legwork done, not just by the folks that occupy those areas, but also in our staff and everything. And also, I think internally within our office and within Roy City, that we needed to make sure we communicated our intent. I believe by staying this decision, it's helped. It absolutely has helped make sure that that's done, and I like the fact that it's now in writing. And so I have a much more comfortable. I'm I'm much more comfortable now than I ever have been. And so, with that, I would move that we approve the resolution
41.
41 between Weber County recommending the annexation of the certain parcels within the unincorporated islands into Roy City.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. A really quick comment. I just wanted to, I had an opportunity last night to talk to Senator Buxton and talk to him about this process. And he's extremely pleased that the county took the time to really work through the process with the residents. He's encouraged that on a local level, we were able to interface with the citizens, which is what we're supposed to do, to find resolution. And this is the purpose of, you know, the action that he took to move this forward, to have the open dialogue and not just to assume others' rights, whether they're proper rights or others, but to work through a process of resolution. And so he was extremely happy to hear that we had been talking to the residents, and we've worked on alleviating many of their concerns. Any further discussion? No? Okay. Fatima, would you pull the...
Commissioner Gibson? Aye. Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
And Chair Ebert?
Aye. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for all the work that our staff has done, and thank you for the work that our citizen planning staff have done. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, a request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Weber County Recreation Arts Museum and Parks Board. Shelley Hallisey. Shelley.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for your support with RAMP, and I come before you today to announce a couple changes that are going on. We published for some new members. We had 2 members that were done with their term, and one that was really busy with her life and decided to take a leave right now. So we are replacing them with Lacey Richards and Renee Woods. They'll be serving on the Arts and Museums Committee. We did advertise for applications, and these were the ones that were selected by the board. And we are asking that you approve appointing Ann Perry as the chair of the advisory board, and Danette Pulley as the chair of the Arts and Museums Committee, and Marisha Bosketer as the chair of the Rec and Parks Committee.
Questions, Commissioners? No questions?
I like the fact that it's so independent of us. That places tremendous trust in the process, and that's what it is. And I hope that those members who are serving on that RAMP committees appreciate and understand and welcome that as well. So,
they do.
So with that, I would make, unless Commissioner Gibson.
Well, I'll just say that the reason that I trust the recommendations, not just the board, I mean, that's important, but also with your endorsement, because you're the one that meets with that board every day through the month of January, February, March, and before, and you know the ones that are proactive in their thought process and the ones that are difficult, and the whole thing. And I just want to thank you for your dedication to this process, and I think your endorsement means a lot to me. I hope it carries with the others as well.
Is that a second?
Yes.
So my quick comment is that when I look through this list, I see amazing people that are movers and shakers, but I noticed that these are the right decisions because it's Lacey, Renee, Ann, Danette, Marisha. No Mark or John's. There's nobody to make any dumb decisions or get in the way. So it's an amazing group of people. So seeing no further discussion, Fatima, would you poll the commission?
Resolution 42, Commissioner Gibson?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
And Chair Ebert?
Aye. It passes. Thank you very much. We have time set aside now under public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to come up and address the commission? Seeing none, we can move to item I. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you for attending today. We are officially adjourned.